Okay, so we're looking just at the compactness of the engine compartment. Here you have a V8 3.5 litre engine, and either side packed into the crevices are fuel tank here, fuel tank on the far side, carburetors up on top, and on this side we have ducts for the heating and so forth, because this vehicle was prepared for use in winter conditions, so it had additional features. But these 3.5 litre engines were unusual in that they had 4 cylinder heads, 2 for each side, so each 2 cylinders had a cylinder head. But it's a very modern engine for its period, and as I said, it's a Horch engine, so it's part of the Audi group. But one of the problems that anybody like the Wheel Foundation has in restoring these is there are so few of these engines left. So in the case of, we have one that's fully ready to go, and a second one where we need to cast 1 cylinder head of the 4, and then another engine which may, with a transaction going on where we may have an engine available, or we may actually cast a new engine. But it's down at that level that you have to go when you're restoring a vehicle. But in the next 2 years we'll see 3 of these running around in action in the Wheel Foundation. And these guys are very helpful in Fort Benning. They've allowed us to look for new information and details and so forth, and in return I think we've been able to help them a little bit. For example, this wee turret that's on the top, the chute shield, I was able to identify a person in Europe who had that, and the Fort Knox people managed to buy it from him. So that restored a little bit back, but lots of other things will follow.
Awesome. Am I all the way down?
Well, the pedals are up above, so this is the problem. You have to get used to quite some.
There's no chair, so I have to.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a little bit taller, but not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
Interesting. So the driver sits here, and the radio operator is here.
The radio operator is here. He would have had a seat as well, naturally a little bit more off the ground, and he operates. This is where the radio set would go normally for the communication with other vehicles. At this period, which was 1942, he's able to talk to the other vehicles, so he's not depending on the commander reading flag signals coming from other vehicles. The transformer for the radio is down there beside my foot. And then if I want to talk to high command, I have to turn the knobs on this to tune in to where the inbound transmissions coming from headquarters would be received on a set that's in here, and then my big transmitter is up here. So it's kind of a tricky enough operation. You're driving the vehicle forward perhaps, and so there's bumping around, but generally for good quality transmission in those days they stopped. And they ran the radios while the vehicle was stationary, because obviously their radio sets were much more primitive in those days than they are today. Okay, so maybe we have a look here. This is the vision block protection for the driver. Normally he could see through that. This one is opaque at the moment because it hasn't been restored. But if it wasn't in combat, he could lift a lever and this all would open up, and you had this little slot for looking out. So that's how you were supposed to see the road. You can't actually see what's going on down below, so it's pretty scary stuff. You have a vision block on either side, and you can either, in a non-combat situation, you can open that and you can use that little slot, or if you're in combat, you have a glass block and you can see out through the little slit that's actually above Sophie's head there. Now, the commander is operating behind. Well, I'll go back into I'm now in the commander's position, but what's missing in this museum exhibit is that the machine gun mount would be here. It's a pedestal with the machine gun on top, and this is not a turret in the strict sense. This is a chute shield. It's just a shield for the machine gun, and it moves based on the pedestal here. And the commander sat on a little bike saddle, and he moved around with his feet, and there's a little footrest here for him to help maneuver around into position. The ammunition is on either side. The machine gun ammunition bags are stored here, and on this side is where, into this slot here, up through a hole in the roof, is where they put the big tall antenna for the long distance transmission. At the back here we have the radiator, and the fuel tank filling is in there, all very cramped. So if you have 3 people, sometimes you even have 4 people in these vehicles, and it's extremely crowded. The radio vehicle, the 261, which is the final version of this, came in 43, and they dispensed with the machine gun, and they dispensed with all of this stuff and put more space in for the extra radios and a 4-man crew. They even had a desk in here for working on that. And then here we have the radiator, and in cold weather they had this is a roller blind down at the bottom here, that you could roll the blind up and connect it in front to block the flow of air from the radiator. So that's about all for internal that we need to worry about. I mean, in the wheel foundation, we, as I say, we have one of these being restored, exactly the same configuration as this in terms of radio vehicle. So it'll be real fun to have that running around in a year or two's time.